Hi there lovelies, I'm Rhonda Crimes. I'm a life and leadership coach, supporting everyday people just like you to reflect and rework your everyday stories so you can step into the everyday leadership of your families and communities and create compelling, meaningful and fruitful lives every day. This guidepost in my vlog edition of Brené Brown's book, The Gifts of Imperfection, has been really insightful for me. I hope it will be for you too. By now you know I've been breaking the book up into bite-sized chunks so that you don't have to find additional time. It just makes it easy for you to listen on the fly. I've loved having both the audio and physical copy versions of the book in my own library as we've gone on this journey together. The pages in my book are highlighted orange and post-it noted everywhere, and I love being able to hear Brené talking just to me. So today, let's talk about the gifts of imperfection, cultivating laughter, song and dance. Wow, here we are at the final guidepost. Each of the guideposts are interwoven to form the transformational fabric of wholehearted life that feels so right for me and that I so want to live. Knowing that I am human and I will struggle, but also knowing that it's possible if I keep cultivating and weeding. Please join me in guidepost number 10, cultivating laughter, song and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control. It's funny, I don't think I've ever thought of myself as being cool, but I've certainly always wanted to be in control. And when I really dig into that, it's because it was always so important for me to fit in or to be more wise or worldly, often with the people I thought were cool or commanding. Brené points out that throughout human history, we've relied on laughter, song and dance to express ourselves, to communicate our stories and emotions, to celebrate and mourn, and to nurture community. But how we can also take these fundamental elements of expression for granted. But can you imagine a life without them? Think of the laughter we crave in movies, in theatre and in our friendships. What about the songs that have captured our emotions and can still evoke similar responses years later? They can transport us straight back in time to the moment. And how we want to sing along at the top of our voice to that song, and we still know all the words. And dancing, from tribal foundations to the reckless abandon in the pub or in our kitchens, as we move to the music, usually involving laughter and of course music. Brené references the book Dancing in the Streets, A History of Collective Joy by Barbara Ehrenreich, who draws on history and anthropology to document the importance of engaging in what she refers to as collective ecstasy. Something so very important given that our society seems to be stuck in a state of collective fear and anxiety. Brené uses her research data to find answers to why laughter, song and dance are so important, and if there was a transformational element that they have in common. She notes, we yearn to laugh and sing and dance when we feel joy, but we also turn to these forms of expression when we feel lonely, sad, excited, in love, heartbroken, afraid, ashamed, confident, certain, doubtful, brave, grief, and ecstasy, just to name a few. After years of analysing the data, she shares that she learned this. Laughter, song and dance create emotional and spiritual connection. They remind us of the one thing that truly matters when we're searching for comfort, celebration, inspiration, or healing. We are not alone. It's important to make a distinction about laughter at this point. The laughter that nurtures connection and helps us to heal is what Brené calls knowing laughter. It's the kind of laughter that communicates without words. I'm with you. I get it. Too often in our society, laughter is used as leverage to rise above or put down. True laughter is not the use of humour as self-deprecation or deflection. It's not the kind of painful laughter we sometimes hide behind. She goes on to say that knowing laughter embodies the relief and connection we experience when we realise the power of sharing our stories. We're not laughing at each other, but with each other. And how important is song? It's how stories are shared and remembered generationally. Think of religious hymns and tribal stories. For as far back as I can remember, I was surrounded by music. Mum made up reel-to-reel recordings, and we had the 75s, the 45s and the 33 records. We had the 8-track tapes in the car. We had cassette tapes and CDs and then iTunes. And now we have music streaming in every sort of combination you can imagine, made by others or that you can craft for yourself. In my coaching, music is an integral element to embody the empowering archetypes. You know, as soon as I hear the first few seconds of Victoria the Sweet, I'm transformed into my queen power type. My back straightens, I feel my crown, and I'm ready to serve and be served with grace and dignity. Similarly, when I hear I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss, I am transported back to my high school days of ice skating and fun times. For my mum, who at 91 is in the late stages of dementia and now totally immobile in nursing care, she still relaxes and appears so much more content when Vera Lynn is singing We'll Meet Again, a song from her youth. So she still has a playlist to soothe and heal and maintain connection. Brené references music in movies. It provides the anticipation, it captures the emotion. It provides a backstory sometimes, and it helps us to connect even more deeply. I mean, even the silent movies of the 1920s still had an orchestra pit and maybe sound effects to add atmosphere. And then the dancing. Again, back into the earliest human evolution, there were ceremonies that involved movement to tell stories, to evoke meaning and connection, or to celebrate collectively. Whether you are a quiet toe tapper or a mover and a shaker, I am sure you've tried the twist or the birdie dance or the Macarena at a school concert or a wedding. I remember dance being encouraged in my family. Mum loved ballroom, and so did I for a really long time, until it became uncool for me to keep going along to the autumn centres with her on a Saturday night. The pull of fitting in is strong within the teenager, but also the fun that we would have when I had my own kids, and we'd put music on and we'd start in the kitchen and then we'd slide into the living room laughing and dancing together and singing loudly. It's all there. But even as I reflect back on that, there was still at the back of my mind, there was always this voice of caution. Not too silly, not too loud, not too awkward. I remember vividly a time when I was about 8 or 9 and I thought I could sing beautifully. So I decided to record myself. Now back in the day, you needed 2 machines to do this, a player and a recorder. And I wanted to really hear myself, so I put on headphones so I could hear the music, but so that wouldn't be recorded, it would just be my voice. And I belted out that song with all my might. Now I have absolutely no memory of what that song was. That was erased in the shame and the embarrassment of hearing what I sounded like without music to soften that blow. I remember feeling so mortified that I vowed I would never sing out loud in company ever again. And I didn't. For well over 40 years. I would lip sync along and I would sing quietly. Even now, I don't like to sing too close to other people. I know intellectually it's okay that I don't have a great voice, but the feeling of that moment of reckoning still runs deep within me. I will happily give my all to sing alongside Adele, although I have to say she does get the words wrong sometimes, and our interpretation of the tone and note are very different. But I do love to sing along. I just don't want anyone to hear me, including me. Brené summarises this beautifully. A good belly laugh, singing at the top of your lungs and dancing like no one is watching are unquestionably good for the soul. But they are also exercises in vulnerability. There are many shame triggers around the vulnerability of laughing, song, and dance. The fears include being perceived as awkward or out of control, uncoordinated, immature, uncool, spastic, and stupid. The gremlins rise up. Our inner voice, the inner critic part of us, raises her voice to make sure that self-expression takes a back seat to self-protection and self-consciousness. From her research, Brené says, there are many ways we hustle for our worthiness, but the 2 that keep us the most quiet and still are hustling to be perceived as cool and in control. Wanting to be perceived as cool isn't about wanting to be the coolest kid on the block. It's about minimizing vulnerability in order to reduce the risk of being ridiculed or made fun of. She points out that being in control is also not always about manipulating, but rather managing perceptions. And along with that, I believe, is the fear of being found out as a fraud. We desperately want to be in control of what other people think of us, so we can feel good enough and fit in. Let's take a look at this guidepost digging deep section, where D is for getting deliberate in your thoughts and behaviours through prayer, meditation, or simply setting your intentions. I is for getting inspired to make new and different choices. And G is for getting going, taking action. Remembering that digging deep isn't about pushing through in the old way, but rather it's about finding a more healing way with good grace, intention, and thoughtfulness. So Brené says her D is to turn on the music in the kitchen while we do a family clean-up after supper. They dance and sing, which in turn always leads to a good laugh. Her I is to make themed playlists groups of songs that I want to listen to when I'm feeling a certain way. So she has God on the iPod, Run Like You Mean It, and Authentic Me as some of her playlists. And her G is to dare to be goofy. Dance every day for 5 minutes. Watch something on YouTube or TikTok that makes you laugh knowingly every single time you watch it. That's the conclusion of our foray into the Gifts of Imperfection with Brené Brown. I hope you found it as insightful and transformational as I did. I will be back next week with a new area of focus, and I hope you can join me. In the meantime, if your now is not the picture that you've painted for yourself, and you'd like any help on that discovery path, or maybe something completely differently that you intuitively know or feel isn't letting your true colours shine through, then please get in touch with me. You can do it really easily by leaving me a comment, sending me a private message, dropping an email, or popping over to my Calendly online diary using the link I've provided, and we can set up a free curiosity call and have a chat to see if we're a good fit for each other. Much love, until next time.